For years, the Tasadays were hailed as the major anthropological find of the century. The Stone Age tribe was a wonder to all and sundry, and almost everybody bought it hook, line, and sinker. Until 1986, after the revolution, a newsman went to visit the caves and found the cavemen fully dressed and living in huts. Almost instantly, the Tasaday find became the Tasaday hoax. Anthropologists from the State University charged it was a drama staged for political ends by Manda Elizalde under the Marcos regime. The anthropological world is now bitterly divided. A heated debate rages. And despite the presidential pronouncement that the Tasadays are real, a resolution remains out of sight.
Were they help?
This interview of a story on the Tasaday, 96 by 2020, American television program. It shows 8 of the Tasadays denied the cave were to be for 15 years.
Place deep inside the rainforest of the southern.
This story rocked anthropological circles here and abroad for the controversial statements it made. It challenged Manda Elizalde, the official discoverer of the Tasaday, and a team of anthropologists who worked with him on the authenticity of this tribe, which was once hailed as the greatest anthropological find of the century.
If you notice, no, nag-override yung English dialogue.
Oscar Trinidad was a spokesman for Manda Elizalde at the time of this interview in July. He debunks the 2020 interview.
They look at the lips and they strain to hear the voices. Ang lumalabas doon sa English, iba sa lumalabas sa languages.
Are you saying dinaya yung editing sa ABC? Are you making that
No,
2020 distorted sound bites to make it
As a
appear
matter of fact, we were preparing a case, but I don't know what happened to that.
It was Oswald Eaton, a Swiss journalist, who first exposed the Tasadays as a possible hoax. In 1986, Eaton went to the Tasaday area and found this, empty caves and the Tasadays, up and living as we knew them to be in 1972. In this photo novel by John Nance, published in 1981, this National Geographic issue of August 1972, and numerous other anthropological reports in and around that year, the Tasadays were pictured as a Stone Age or Paleolithic tribe, having been isolated in the rainforest for hundreds of years. The report said they had a distinct language, that they were a gentle, peaceful people with no words for war or aggression, that they lived in caves and were strictly monogamous, and that they were hunters and food foragers, knowing nothing of agriculture. All over the world, the Tasadays were hailed as a major discovery. American textbooks and encyclopedias devoted a chapter to this primitive group of men who showed us what man was and what he had become. Professor Zeus Salazar, chairman of the UP Department of History, and Professor Jerome Bailen of the Department of Anthropology had long doubted the veracity of the Tasaday. Both are now being charged in court for alleging that the whole thing was staged by Manda Elizalde.
They were made to stage a caveman act. Okay, they were never cavemen then, or Stone Age culture practicing people then. And they never were when the cave story was being presented to the world, and they never are today.
Ano ho ba talaga ang Tasaday?
Sa aking palagay, ang mga Tasaday ay isang grupong binuo ng ilang mga tao upang ipakita sa Pilipinas at sa buong daigdig na sila ay mga cavemen o dili kaya mga taong natitira sa mga kuweba, no? Iyon ang fake sa aking palagay.
Whenever Elizalde and his researchers or his guests come, they go to the caves to play a drama. When they get out of the area, meaning Manda and his friends, they go back to the natural lives. They went back to the natural lives.
And this went on for 15 years?
Yeah, this went on for 15 years. Did you know that several times they switched back from caveman to nipa hut dwelling, from leaf-wearing to cloth-wearing peoples.
And what were the incentives given to them?
Or according to Tasaday themselves, they were promised a lot of material incentives and development of the area.
If Professor Bailen is correct, the same kind of staging taken place in 1886. 20s shows how 1 week after Ethan's sale, the Tasadays became cavemen again.
Here's again two wives when the Germans found them. But remember, this is how they were photographed just 1 week earlier. Quite a contrast.
I do not think it can be fake. It will have by a terrific anthropologist and a terrific director. And all the members of the cast would be fantastic actors.
Dr. Jess Peralta, anthropologist of the National Museum. He saw the Tasadays in 1971. He also saw them in 1986.
How do you explain then now the fact that they now wear clothes and they now live in nipa huts and they have abandoned their cave dwellings?
Let me ask you, what were you doing 15 years ago?
Imposible. Culture change ay isang bagay na hindi pwedeng mabilisan. Lalo na, isang halimbawa na nakatutuwa para sa kanila. Ang sinabi nila noon sa simula doon sa mga libro at sa mga artikulo tungkol sa Tasaday, ang mga Tasaday daw ay monogamous. Ibig sabihin, iisa lang ang asawa. No? 15 years later, halos lahat sila ay polygamous. Ibig sabihin, maraming asawa. Yung isa ay may 3 asawa. Medyo mahirap paniwalaan siguro yan.
If after 15 years, the Tasaday has not changed and they will still be wearing their leaves, they would indeed be fakes. Because nobody stays stagnant and frozen in time after 15 years. It's probably too much to ask of the Tasaday for them to remain what they are in 1971. It's now 1988. And they have intermarried with the Manugubli.
Kaya nga nagkaroon ng reservation. No, hindi ba? Idineclare yan ng national reservation. Protektahan ang mga Tasaday at huwag papapasukin ng mga taong pwedeng maka-impluensya sa kanya.
There was a law that prohibits anybody from going inside. But that did not prohibit Ethan from going inside or other people. There is no fence, no electrified fence around the Tasaday.
Precisely that promise ay hindi niya finulfill. Yung pangakong iyon ay hindi niya tinupad.
As early as 1972, Professor Salazar had started to question several other data on the Tasaday, among them the language.
The second word is oho, which is affirmative. It means that's right, that's correct.
Mayroon silang katagang diwata, no? Ang tawagan nila daw kay Elizalde ay momo dakal diwata Tasaday, no? Ibig sabihin, the great God of the Tasaday, dakilang Diyos ng Tasaday. By the way, dakila pareho yan sa dakil, no? Dakila. Diwata ay isang katagang Sanskrit na pumasok sa Pilipinas mula sa Indonesia.
That they are a Stone Age tribe isolated from the rest of the world is also under attack. Genealogy charts presented by Professor Bailen show that Tasadays have close blood relations with the neighboring Manubu and Tiboli tribes.
They could not have been isolated from the neighboring communities from 700 to 2,000 years because the relation is practically in the same generation or in the previous generation, either as cousins or uncles and aunts.
Whoever said that they were completely isolated does not understand ethnic groups very much. Because even the initial findings, for instance here, this is one of the earliest findings about the Tasaday. When I particularly asked the Tasaday, what do they call themselves? They said Manubu Tasaday, which means they are the Manubu living in the Tasaday area.
Ironically, even the original anthropologists seem to have changed their positions even but slightly. The theory now being advanced is that the Tasadays are not a Stone Age tribe isolated for hundreds of years, but just a splinter group of Manubus and Tibolis who chose to immerse themselves in the rainforest to avoid some epidemic. They are, in short, not as geographically or socially distinct as once believed.
Hirap yatang paniwalaan yan.
It's not possible.
Ang ibig sabihin medyo paatras ng paatras sila. No? Mahirap yung atras ka ng atras na lagi eh. Mayroon ka hypothesis, pagkatapos atakin ng hypothesis mo, atras ka sa isang bago.
But you see, isolation is a relative thing. And apparently, the Tasaday adapted to a forest condition. But they must have had contact with the outside in terms of marriages. So there must have been contact of some kind, but there is relative isolation.
Kung ganyan lang sasabihin nila, they can say almost anything.
The people who went there to study the Tasaday, like Robert Fox, Frank Lynch, Theodore Yamson, Carol Maloney, Douglas Yin, what's his name, Carlos Fernandez. These people are not neophytes in the field of anthropology. They're well known, they have a name that is very well established. They're known for their integrity. They wrote what they saw. And if there are errors, and there are errors in the ethnography, it's because of the lack of time to study them.
The controversy over the Tasaday has gone beyond the realm of anthropology into politics. Himself is thought to have used the Tasadays to further his political ambitions. In the image taken in 1992, picture God of the Tasaday, but left never to return. A congressional attempt to resolve the conflict failed. Experts and non-experts were said to have been emotionally involved.
Congressman
Venancio Garduse of the House Committee on Cultural Minorities.
That when I was asked at one of the committee meetings to preside, I was so confused and so bewildered by the exchange of views. Instead of hearing the witnesses, the committee members themselves were arguing.
Some of the Tasaday witnesses themselves reportedly changed their testimony several times, prompting opposing parties to throw charges of bribery and fraud at each other.
There was a motion on the part of one of the committee members, that is Congressman Jusoberi, to have the case closed.
Why?
Because we cannot come at a conclusion as to whether this Tasaday is genuine or not.
Based on what you know of the Tasaday, do you think that it is as unique as to be at that time?
It is unique in the respect that here is a group of people that's really small. It's probably the smallest group found in the country that has relative isolation.
Can you honestly say, sir, that there was absolutely no staging done at the time that the Tasadays were discovered and were being revealed to the world?
From my own knowledge, I cannot say anything because I was not there.
Were there deliberate falsehoods that were put forward, lies?
By the anthropologists? No.
About the group of Elizalde, by the group of Elizalde?
I think Elizalde would be the best director in the world if he can manage to orchestrate everything in this manner. And the Tasaday would be the greatest actors that they can fool a number of professional anthropologists.
Did you know that the Piltdown Man hoax took 40 years to get well exposed? And 15 years is not a very bad batting average compared to the Piltdown Man hoax.
Last month, President Aquino made an unexpected statement on the conflict. Her judgment, the Tasadays are real. The statement caught the UP professors by surprise, and within a few days, the state university thrust itself into the conflict. Demonstrating its support for its faculty, the UP has intervened in a case filed by Elizalde against Salazar and Bailen.
The university will support them. It's a very simple thing. Whether they are right or wrong is not for the university to judge. Now, it is for scholars in the same field to judge.